That is what we do. We overcome obstacles. That is what we do. What we do.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Jack from Big Jack Outdoors. I have not been good about getting my videos updated and uploaded. Here we are towards the end of September, and I have not put out my DALMAC video yet. So, I did successfully complete the DALMAC. 4 days of over 100 kilometers a day, traveling from Lansing, Michigan to Mackinac City. And it was a spectacular journey, very different doing it as part of the organized group ride as opposed to last year's effort of doing it solo. Aside from the fact that I was able to have my 2 duffel bags worth of gear transported for me, as opposed to carrying it myself, there was the camaraderie of doing it with other people. And I had a lot of firsts in this trip that made it a truly memorable event. Yeah, the first 2 days were largely flat. All the farmland and windmills, wind turbines, I guess would be the better word, and all the flat rolling hills you could want. Good afternoon everyone, this is Big Jack Outdoors, and I am on the first day of the DALMAC Dick Allen Lansing to Mackinac ride. It is just past noon, and I am 60 miles in, 12 miles out from finishing the first day. Got a really early start just after 7 a.m. and the day has just flown past. Beautiful sunny skies. A little bit cool this morning, but not too bad. Unfortunately, my HP Velotechnic Street Machine is still in the shop. If Murphy's Law has its way, I'll probably get a call tomorrow or Saturday from the shop saying that the bike's ready, come get it. Because of course that's what happened last year too, when I was doing the MyMac and doing my own tour up through Michigan by myself. On the 3rd day, I got the call, yeah, the bike's ready, come get it. It's like, great, I'm up in the fingers right now, I'm a little far away to get it. The majority of this day has been on farm roads and going through towns. And right now we get a very nice, easy finish going through the Fred Meyer rail trail. Lots of nice shade, nice easy grades, no big hills. With my HP Velotechnic in the shop and unavailable for this weekend, I had 2 choices in my garage of what to ride. I had my TerraTrike Rover, which I have put many thousands of miles on and took to Mackinac City last year. And I have the Sun Cycles Easy Speedster SX, which I purchased last summer as a test to see how I liked 2-wheeled recumbents before I put the bill for the HP Velotechnic. And after riding both of them this past month, I felt I didn't have the available gear inches on the TerraTrike to get the speed that I wanted out of this trip. So I am on the Sun Cycles Easy Speedster, which is their, it used to be, it's an old, no longer sold bike, but it's an entry-level model to 2-wheeled bikes. It's got above seat steering, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it works. After a few adjustments, I've gotten it to be very comfortable. It's got a two-piece seat that's basically a very large foam seat with a mesh back to it. And once I upgraded the very basic tires, I've got Schwalbe Marathons, Marathon Plus on the front, and Marathon Tour on the back, which I've been very happy with the Marathon Tour tire so far. The Tour has a much beefier tread pattern to it than the other Marathon tires, and I was a little worried that that pattern was going to be a little bit rougher and give a little more vibration on the road, but it has proven to be very smooth running, and that aggressive tread pattern works great on gravel paths and dirt roads. It's a fairly basic bike. You got a 3x8 drivetrain, which gets me through most of what I need. Generally, I keep the front and the middle chain ring, and that gets me through most hills. Gets me fast enough, unless I'm going for a big downhill that I want to get a lot of speed on. Then I'll throw it into the third. And I've got the low chain ring for really steep climbs. We'll see how I feel on day 3 as to whether I want to tackle the wall or not. Even though the Easy Speedster, it wouldn't be my first choice to be taking on this trip, it is a very nice bike for what it is. And it's an entry level, much like the TerraTrek Rover was. It gets you into the sport. The Easy Speedster has a fairly decent weight rating on it that allows it to take larger individuals such as myself. Currently, I am sitting around 290 pounds still. Have not quite been able to burn off the extra weight I put on after getting out down to 255 last year. Now, when we get into camp, well, into school, where we will be making camp, we'll see if I'm able to find a decent place to be able to set up my hammock or not. Fingers crossed, it will be set up well, and I'll have a wonderful night's sleep. And even if not, I'll set up my backup tent and have a really nice sleep, because I'm going to be exhausted no matter what. On the second day, I had a little bit of fun playing leapfrog with a couple of groups the first couple of miles. The first time we crested a hill and I started to pass the group, someone goes, "Hey, there's a recumbent passing us." Another person says, "Oh, it must be an electric." And I called out as I passed the head person, "Human powered!" And over the next several hills, you know, they would pass me on a climb and then I would pass them on the next downhill. Because ultimately that's how recumbent bikes perform. Is the aerodynamics makes it that we start getting a significant advantage once you get over 20 miles an hour. The downside is we're almost always heavier. Anyway, day 2 wore on. The hills started giving way to a more, I think it was a gentle continual rise as we went on into the next town in Lake City. And one of the things that a first experience for me was joining into a train, getting pulled in someone else's aerodynamic slipstream. And it is incredible to feel when you slip in behind someone and suddenly the wind resistance starts going away and you're picking up speed with less effort. And I guess partially thanks to the fact that my slipstream requirements are smaller, I don't necessarily have to be right on top of the tail of the person in front of me to get some benefit. However, I have been told that my own personal slipstream is ineffective for an upright cyclist. I just hit a little too low to get into their head area. And so that was toward the end of day 2, which was a little bit longer at 84 miles about. That landed us into Lake City, Michigan. At the end of Lake City, took myself a little bit of a walk and found myself a local bar to get myself some all-you-can-eat codfish and some good local Michigan beers. Excellent way to finish it out. Hello again. I am now in Lake City, Michigan at the end of day 2, and oh damn, I left my camera in my luggage that I've got put on the truck. Figured it out after it was already loaded in and piled in under other bags. I got no video during the ride. I got a couple of pictures with my phone though, that suffices usually. But otherwise, another full day, all done and set up. Really cool thing is I actually have a good place to set up my hammock at this place. I got a couple of trees off in the corner, but I also realized something, that I never had to be worried about setting up a hammock at a school. Everyone's got monkey bars. which brings us into day 3. Now, day 3 wound up having 3 personal bests for me. It had the longest distance I have ever ridden, that being 93 miles. It had the fastest 40-kilometer segment I have ever done, that being a calculation off of any given stretch of road. And it had a third record of the most vertical feet climbed in a single day. Included in this was a segment called the Jordan Wall, which is just north and east of East Jordan, Michigan, and is about a 2-mile segment that for the most part is about a 5 to 7% grade, ending in an 18% peak. Now, the wall is ultimately an optional route on the trip. They had a bypass, but the bypass was several miles longer, and you would more or less end up with the same elevation change just over a longer period, because you're crossing over the same rolling ridgeline, just at a different point. At that point in the day, I just wanted to get it done with, so I took the shorter route. And yeah, I did not make it all the way up. I made it most of the way, and then I walked the last bit, so I did get to the top under my own power. I just didn't do it on the wheels. It was well worth it, because then I had the downhills on the other side of that, where I hit a personal speed record of 40 miles an hour. The other reason why I was wanting to go ahead and get the ride finished earlier is it had been sprinkling off and on all day, and the forecast had more actual rain settling in the evening, so I wanted to get to the school in Boyne and get my hammock set up. Which is the other fun thing about this trip. I slept in a hammock every night, and it was fantastic. I had 3 different solutions for sleeping effectively on the trip. I had my hammock, I had my Yobo Gear Freedom stand in case I had no trees to hang the hammock from, and I brought my tarp tent Stratospire as well as a last resort. Turns out I didn't really need to be worried about where I was going to end up being able to hang my hammock on this trip. Because one thing that can be an accepted truth about any school, they're going to have a playground. And playgrounds have really sturdy uprights and make really good anchor points for hammock suspension straps. 2 out of the 3 nights I was hanging from a playground. The first night in Vesterberg, I first hung from some monkey bars, but it was a little bit questionable whether that was going to work out the best or not, because I was squeezing between a bunch of different support poles. But then there was a part of the main playground that had a whole bunch of uprights with nothing attached to them. And on that particular playground, we had 4 hammocks set up at one point. I guess only 2 or 3 of us actually slept there that night. Second night in the lake, we had 4 hammocks set up for sleeping on the playground. I was lucky enough to get actually a couple of trees hang mine from while everyone else either went from a tree to the monkey bars, hung onto the monkey bars themselves, or on another section of the playground as a whole. And then the third night I was pretty much off by myself in the playground, which made it for a nice quiet night because I didn't have any tents really close by to me out there. So I did not need to take the tarp tent or the Yobo, but it was nice having the backups if I needed them. And day 3 is off to a damp start. We've had 2 beautiful, shiny days of riding. Yesterday ended in partly cloudy, a little bit cooler. But today, it's definitely cloudy, and we'll be chasing showers all the way to Boyne City, where heavier rain and thunderstorms are waiting for us for the night. And it's a long 93-mile day. Could be shorter if I choose to do the wall, which is an alternate route, but is a long 2-mile climb with an 18% grade at its peak. So I don't know yet. We'll see how I feel when I get to the decision point as to whether I do that or not. In the meantime, it's a dark, gloomy day for a long ride. Let's see what we get. Whew, so I finally managed to recover a bit from that. On this day, there were 2 different routes that we could do. One of them was a mile shorter than the other, but included this little segment of road called the Wall, in which the peak of it is about an 18% grade. I went in and decided to try my luck at it. And I may have finished it by walking my bike at 2 miles per hour, but I did finish. I got to the top under my own power. Oh. I got about 2/3 of the way up, so right up until just before the really steep part. And what makes it really bad is that there's no way that you can build up momentum going into it, because it is about 2 miles of slow grade going in, and then you hit the wall, in which it goes up to about 10%, and then you got that 18% right there at the end. But I got higher than some of the other people that were there at the same time, so I feel pretty good about it. So that leaves us with day 4. A shorter day, still had a fair bit of climbing, but it was by far the most scenic. And the main reason I wanted to do the western route instead of one of the eastern routes, because from Boyne City we head north to Petoskey and then follow the Lake Michigan coastline around for a long distance, going through an area called the Tunnel of Trees, which is a beautiful stretch of road. It's a road that they don't even have lane markers on. It is the smallest two-way road you can imagine there being. But it goes through this area where the trees completely cover the walkway in much the same way as they do on this rail trail that I'm on right now. But you also get these vistas looking out over Lake Michigan every once in a while, and it's just a spectacular view. Towards the end of that, we had lunch, where, as we were also merging with the 5 West route at that time, we had a much larger crowd, and I got to see a lot of recumbents at that stop. And there were several recumbents on the 4 West route with me as well. They were exclusively cruise bikes, which are a front-wheel drive style that is rather unique. But at that stop on the 5-day, there were a lot of different ones. There were trikes, there were some long wheelbases, there was one that had a full windsock. After that, it was more farmland. It finishes out dropping into Mackinac City. But even that had its interesting points. It was on that stretch of farmland that I participated in one of the longest, both the number of bikes and the distance that we traveled together, bike trades of the entire trip. And once again, I was taking up the tail of it because I can't really provide the proper wind stream to go into the middle or the front. But just tagging along at the back, getting pulled along in this perfect stream of wind, traveling 23, 24 miles an hour. So, in my post-ride opinion about the ride, looking back on it, would I do it again? Yes. I think I would absolutely love to do it again. I'd also like to volunteer and try to make it better. I kind of wish I had had the ability to do the pedal across the Lower Michigan ride before the DALMAC, as was my original plan, because it is, from what I've been told from other participants this year, it is an easier ride than the DALMAC. So it would have been a very opportune warm-up. But the fact that I did the MyMac last year proved to me that I was able to do it. And we'll see what this next year holds for me. And we'll see everyone next time. Have a great night.